Good morning, students.
Good morning, sir. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, ma. Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Ranjit.
Sir, voice is muted, sir. Not.
No, ma. My voice is open itself. I have not muted. Please check once.
Sir, voice.
Prashant, is my voice audible? Shravan?
Yes, sir, audible, sir.
Okay, thank you, Gopi Krishna. Ranjit, please check your bandwidth, ma. If you are having low bandwidth,
Okay, sir.
then definitely once again it will be problem with connecting video as well as audio.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay, ma. I think.
Now clear, sir.
Okay. Now I think my participants have come over. Only 9 participants. Anyhow, let us go into the class without wasting any more time. Okay, ma, that was the brief introduction regarding to the today's classification of Indian banking system. So yesterday also I have given the video that I have made over regarding to the different types of banks in India. Now, now we are supposed to discuss in detail. Are you able to see the screen, ma? If yes, please give thumbs up. Yes, thank you, Ranjit. Okay, ma. Now we are supposed to discuss in detail regarding to classification of Indian banking system. So there are different forms that the banks have been divided according to some basis. First and foremost, let me take. Right. First and foremost, it has been divided on the basis of second schedule of RBI Act 1965. Sometimes it is also supposed to call as organized and unorganized sector or scheduled banks and non-scheduled banks. So scheduled banks are those banks which have been following according to the rules and regulations of RBI that have been prescribed under the second schedule of RBI Act 1965. So at that time what RBI have said means if a bank should come under our governance, definitely the bank should possess of minimum paid up capital of 5 lakh rupee and minimum capital maintenance of 100 lakh rupees. It is nothing but 10 crore rupees. So in this manner, the scheduled banks have been happened. Simply saying scheduled banks are those banks which come under the guidance of RBI and they will be working according to the instructions laid down by the RBI. And next comes unorganized sector or non-scheduled banks. Non-scheduled banks which doesn't comes under the schedule of second schedule of RBI Act 1965. So definitely RBI is not supposed to lay hand regarding to these banks. Particularly if we are supposed to speak regarding to scheduled and non-scheduled banks, nowadays we can say that the banks like commercial banks which are we are supposed to call as public sector banks all comes under scheduled banks, and non-scheduled banks that we are supposed to take as indigenous banks, because indigenous banks are private people that who are supposed to or private lending banks which that they are supposed to lend money according to their rules and regulations. Now, secondly, on the basis of domicile. Domicile is nothing but on the nature of domesticity. So, domestic banks as well as foreign banks. Domestic banks is nothing but whenever you are having your branches in your country, it is supposed to call as domestic bank. So when you are having your bank and branch in your country, then it is called as domestic bank. And foreign banks, when a bank which is having its head office in some country and it is having branch in our country, then it is called as foreign bank. Very good example I want to give. So if a bank, very good example like Citibank, okay, so its head office is somewhere in US and it is having branch in India. So the Citibank which is having head office in US and having its branches in India is supposed to called as foreign banks, and which is supposed to called as domestic bank which is having head office here itself and branch office here itself, then it is called as domestic bank. That is the major difference between foreign banks as well as domestic banks. So domestic banks will be ruled under the RBI. Foreign banks, they will be supposed to rule according to their RBI. There will be not RBI, there will be having their own central banks. So according to their country's central banks, they will be working upon. So these are the two as per second schedule of RBI Act 1965 on the basis of domicile. Now coming regarding to the basis of ownership. Right. Public sector banks, private sector banks, and cooperative bank. Public sector banks are those banks where the majority of the stake is in the hands of government. It might be central government or state government, but nowadays we are supposed to call it as quasi government, where majority of the stake is in the hands of the central government and minority of the stake is in the hands of the state government. So if 100% of shares is there, if 51% of shares are in the hands of government sector, then such bank is supposed to called as public sector banks. So now we are having 21 public sector banks, but because of the merge, once again I have to recalculate how many banks that we are supposed to be having now. SBI, it is also a public sector bank as well as IDBI, and private sector banks. When 51% of majority stake is in the hands of private people, then it is supposed to called as private sector bank. Very good example we can take ING Vaishya or ICICI, right? Karur Vaishya Bank, now Karur Vaishya Bank. All these comes under private sector banks. First of all, we have to understand why the people will be going more for private sector rather than public sector, means because of the interest rate that is given more in private sector. If you want to fix it, any amount, fixed deposit in public sector or private sector, the public sector, they will be giving comparatively low as than the private sector banks. But in regarding to safety measures, definitely it is public sector banks where your money is secured. So that is the major difference between public sector and private sector, because the public sector banks, government will be having majority of the stake. If the government will be changed over, nothing difference will be happen over, because the RBI will be continuously watching regarding to these banks. Even if a public sector bank, if it is have been a bankrupt, your money will be very much secured over, because your money will be insured over up to 1 lakh rupee you can easily withdraw in public sector banks. For that reason, in sake of security regarding to your deposit, people will be going for public sector banks. But if you are interested in interest rather than safety, then people will be going for private sector. If any private sector have been bankrupt, then RBI is not supposed to give any support. That is the major difference between public sector bank as well as private sector bank. Now coming regarding to cooperative banks. The banks which are supposed to act according to Cooperative Society Act 1912, Cooperative Society Act 1912 is supposed to termed as cooperative banks. So why these cooperative banks have been established over? First of all, literally try to understand what is the meaning of cooperative. See, cooperative is nothing but a group of financially weak people, they will be joining together in order to sustain. A group of financially weak people, they will be joining together in order to sustain. Very good example we can take like Amul. Amul is also majorly dependent upon this cooperative milk agencies itself. Once again, if you are supposed to take Lizard Papad, I am taking examples rather than banks in order to easily understand. Okay, so if you are supposed to take Amul, or if you are supposed to take Lizard Papads, all these coming under cooperative societies itself. If in Andhra Pradesh we will take APCO, Andhra Pradesh Cooperative Societies, where weaving sector, ante Cheneta Vastra Parishrama in Telugu if you are supposed to call. These weaving sector people, they all combinedly come together and they are supposed to sell their products. then such thing is supposed to called as cooperative. Why all these people are coming together? First and foremost thing is financial problem, means financial soundlessness. These people, these viewer sector people, they will be not having that much finances that other people will be having over. For that purpose, these people join together and they will be forming cooperatives. So in this manner, cooperative societies have been formed and an act has been enacted in the year 1912. According to that act, cooperative banks will be also running over. So once again, these cooperative banks have been classified into three. Let me show. Right. So it has been classified into three-layer system: primary credit cooperative, central cooperative, state cooperative. Primary credit cooperative, it will be accessing at village level or rural area level, where majorly farm people will be there, farmers will be there. So for farmers, definitely, these credit societies will be helpful in availing small term loans. And these primary credit societies, they will be funded by central cooperative societies. Primary credit societies will be funded by central credit societies, and central credit societies will be funded by state credit societies. In this manner, three level layer will be happen. So primary credit societies will be running actively in village level, where they will be allowing funds for the sake of farmers for the farming activities, that too particularly small term loans. Next, central or cooperative banks. So these banks will be running at district levels. So in district levels, that means in Kurnool District Cooperative Bank, already you know, you have seen also. So Kurnool District Cooperative Bank, Kadapa Cooperative Bank, or Anantapur Cooperative. So each district will be having their central cooperative bank. In that manner, in in a state, how many districts are there? That many cooperative central cooperative banks will be having over. The major function of these central cooperative bank is they will be acting as ladder between state cooperative bank as well as primary cooperative bank. Whatever the funds that will be disseminated by the state cooperative banks will be given over to the primary cooperative banks, because this central cooperative bank, very good example, Kurnool District Cooperative Banks. Under Kurnool District, there are so many villages. At, in each village, there will be some cooperative banks, and all these cooperative banks will be assessed over Kurnool District Cooperative Bank. So once again, at apex level, we will be having state cooperative bank. That means Andhra Pradesh State Cooperative Bank, and there will be only one state cooperative bank. There will be only one state cooperative bank. For Andhra Pradesh, Andhra Pradesh State Cooperative Bank. For Telangana, Telangana State Cooperative Bank. So in this manner, the three level layer system will be happen over. So how these will be funded over? The funding will be given by individuals, that means who are voluntarily supposed to associate together. At the same time, NABARD will be also giving some money. So in this two manner, at the same time, when they themselves, they are supposed to go for public funding in the form of shares, then also they will be getting some part of money. So cooperative banks will be running with Cooperative Society Act 1912, and there is three level layers: primary level at rural, and there will be n number of primary cooperative banks and district cooperative banks. Primary cooperative banks will be accessed by district cooperative banks. For every district, there will be only one cooperative bank, and all these district cooperative banks will be once again will be ruled by the state cooperative bank. For state, there will be one state cooperative bank. So this is regarding to cooperative bank. Now I am unmuting Yuma. If you have any doubts, please ask. Yes, you can unmute yourself and you can ask, ma. In order to go further. Yes, Prasanna, please ask, ma.
Non-scheduled banks, sir.
What, ma? Non-scheduled banks.
Non-scheduled banks.
See, ma, here, in order to understand the complete scenario, first of all, we have to understand scheduled banks and non-scheduled banks. So how this classification has been happened means already RBI, sorry, Banking Regulation Act 1965, according to, according to 1965 Banking Corporation Act, it has been classified into two kinds, ma. Scheduled banks and non-scheduled banks. So scheduled banks, they are supposed to run according to the framework given by Banking Regulation Act 1965 under Schedule 2. ఏవైతే బ్యాంక్స్ ఆర్బీఐ నిర్దేశించిన చట్టం ప్రకారంగా నడుచుకుంటాయో వాటిని స్కెడ్యూల్ బ్యాంక్స్ అంటాం. ఏవైతే వాటికి విరుద్ధంగా నడుచుకుంటాయో వాటిని మనం ఏమంటాం, నాన్ స్కెడ్యూల్డ్ బ్యాంక్స్ అని అంటాం. సో వీటికి ఇంకో పేరు కూడా ఉంది. ఏంటి అంటే స్కెడ్యూల్డ్ బ్యాంక్స్ ఆర్ సపోజ్డ్ కాల్డ్ as ఆర్గనైజ్డ్ బ్యాంక్స్ అండ్ నాన్ స్కెడ్యూల్డ్ బ్యాంక్స్ ఆర్ సపోజ్డ్ కాల్డ్ as అన్ఆర్గనైజ్డ్ బ్యాంక్స్. Organized, unorganized. What is organized? Organized means a clearly decent way where complete rules and regulations will be happening over. Very good example. See, whenever any bank has to raise either interest rate or decrease its interest rate, it will be according to RBI. Then such banks are supposed to called as scheduled. Very good example. For daily we are having a scheduled meeting at 12 o'clock. Is that true thing? So that means a pre-fixed rules and regulations when the banks are following over, it is called as scheduled. If they are not at all following any rules and regulations, then it is supposed to called as non-scheduled banks. Is that okay, Prasanna?
Yes, sir.
Okay, next. Up to cooperative banks, ma. If you are having any doubts, please raise. Please go ahead. Yes, Prasanna, you can ask, ma.
Sir, indigenous banks, sir.
Ma, I have not yet gone to on the basis of functions, ma. Just I have explained only three. As per second schedule of RBI Act 1965, on the basis of domicile, on the basis of ownership. Just I have explained three things. Still, I have to go on the basis of function. On the basis of organization, each one thing is one separate chapter. Unit banking is one separate chapter. Branch banking is one separate chapter. This we are supposed to discuss in detail in upcoming classes. Now I am supposed to discuss regarding to basis of function, yet I have not yet discussed these things. I have discussed only three things, ma. Domicile, RBI Act 1965, ownership. Up to there, if you are having any doubts, you can go over. If you are not having any doubts, please give thumbs up so that I will move on. Thank you, Gopi Krishna. Thank you, Shravan. Thank you, Ranjit. Okay, ma. Now coming regarding to the basis of functions. Right. So before going into industrial bank, first of all, on the basis of function, the bank have been once again divided into so many subsections. First one, commercial bank. Commercial bank. So commercial banks, which are particularly meant commercially, it is nothing but for the sake of profits. Once again, all the banks that they are supposed to deal only for the sake of profit itself. All the commercial banks that they are meant for the sake of profit motive itself. So all banks that we are supposed to see now in general sense, all are supposed to called as commercial banks. So secondly comes regarding to industrial banks. The banks which are particularly meant for the sake of development of industries are supposed to called as industrial banks. Yesterday itself I have given example regarding to IDBI, Industrial Development Bank of India, IFC, Industrial Foreign Currency, and State Financial Corporation. So in this manner, IFC, Industrial Finance Corporation, and State Finance Corporation. So these three are the examples regarding to the industrial banks. So why these industrial banks have been went over? See, for every segment, definitely some uh, we have to take some care regarding to some particular sectors. So for agricultural sector, some agricultural banks have been laid over. For home purpose, ICICI. So Indian Credit Institution Corporation of India, Industrial Credit and Institution Corporation of India. In this manner, for each and every segment, banks have been also segregated. So in this manner, industrial banks, they are completely concentrated only regarding to the development of industries. Once again, these industrial banks that they are supposed to assist the industries in three forms: by giving short-term loans, medium-term loans, long-term loans. So not only by giving short-term, medium and long-term loans, at the same time, they also act as underwriters. In the functions of banking itself, we have said what function that the bank will be doing as underwriter. The same thing the industrial banks, they will be assuming the risk on behalf of the banks at the time of going for public auctions. Next comes agricultural bank. So agricultural banks. So how RBI it is supposed to assist public sector banks, agricultural banks will be also assisting by NABARD. NABARD is nothing but National Bank for Agricultural and Rural Development. So in Andhra Pradesh, if you are supposed to take, there are so many regional rural banks like Andhra Pradesh Gramin Vikas Bank, Chaitanya Godavari Bank, Andhra Pradesh Gramina Bank. So in this manner, for the sake of development of agricultural sectors and rural sector, that means the complete concentration of these banks will be taken only regarding to agricultural activities. Once again, these banks will be also giving loans in the form of short term, medium term and long term. Short term, once again, yesterday I have said that for the sake of purchasing of seeds, for the sake of purchasing of fertilizers, short term loans will be given over. For the sake of medium term, medium term loans for the sake of purchasing of tractors, and for long terms for the sake of purchasing of agricultural lands. In this manner agricultural banks will be happen. So the apex banks for all these regional rural banks is nothing but NABARD. NABARD will be funded over, NABARD will be funding all these regional rural banks. And once again, these regional rural banks, central government, state government, at the same time sponsorer banks, these three place key indications in agricultural banks. In further upcoming classes, once again we will be getting NABARD, regional rural banks. There I am supposed to go in detail. Next comes exchange banks. So export import, Exim Bank, there is every country definitely it will be having exchange bank, that we are supposed to call as Exim Bank. Exim Bank is nothing but exports and imports. See, whenever you are supposed to expand your branches globally, then definitely you are supposed to trade in their currencies. So in order to exchange the medium of currencies, definitely banks will be helpful for dealing in foreign currencies. So once again, if you are supposed to try to remember the point that I have said in the previous class, all the banks will be not given permission to exchange foreign currencies. Only those banks which are supposed to be authorized by RBI, only they can deal with foreign exchange. At the same time, in all branches, this foreign exchange will be not happen. Even though it has authorization from RBI, only in the head office or major branch office, the foreign exchange will be happen over. And second thing, if you want foreign countries information, their market information, once again these exchange banks, they will disseminate the information regarding to current status of that particular country. At the same time, these exchange banks, they will be also giving letter of credit. It is nothing but the credit worthiness of you in order to have loans in that particular currency, in that particular country. In this manner, exchange banks will be also playing a key role. Next comes savings bank. So savings bank already at the time of deposits, I have said that there are different kinds of deposits like savings account, current account, fixed deposit, recurring deposit. So savings bank is nothing but they are supposed to collect the small savings across the country and they will try to mobilize them for the productive purpose. And once again, I want to remember you, there will be no particular separate things like savings bank, exchange bank, and another thing. The banks will be given some statuses like acting as exchange bank and savings bank itself. Very good example, take syndicate bank. Syndicate bank itself, it can be called as savings bank. It can be also called as exchange bank. If it is supposed to serve for the purpose of agriculture, then it will be also called as agricultural bank. But some particular banks have been meant for agriculture sector and some particular banks have been meant for industrial sector. In this manner, all banks will be also accessing as commercial banks, saving banks, industrial banks, agricultural banks, all kind of loans will be given by these banks. But the permission has to be get by RBI. So next comes regarding to indigenous banks. In order to understand indigenous bank, first of all, try to understand the literal definition regarding to private money lender. Private money lender is that person who is supposed to lend money from his pockets. So the indigenous bank, what do you mean by indigenous bank is nothing but it is an extension part of private money lender. Private money lender, what he will be doing? He will lend money from his own pocket. But indigenous bankers, they will be not lending money from their own pockets. They will be collecting money from outside people and lending the money for outside people. Very good example. Let me take Gopi Krishna. Gopi Krishna, he will be taking money from Nikhil for 1 rupee. For 1 rupee. That means he is supposed to give 1 rupee interest for Nikhil and he has borrowed 1 lakh rupee. Once again, he is re-lending that 1 lakh rupee to Sai Ranjit for 1 rupee 25 paise. So in this sense, indigenous bankers role will be happen. So in this manner, Gopi Krishna is gaining 25 paisa. So he is not having any money, but he is acting as a mediator and he is exchanging the money. If you are supposed to take private money lender, let me take the same example. Gopi Krishna, he is lending money to Sai Ranjit at rate of 1 rupee 25 paisa. So now Gopi Krishna from his own pockets, he is giving money to Sai Ranjit. So in this manner, we can classify into indigenous bankers as well as private money lenders. Next comes regarding to development banks. In the name itself, it is there for the purpose of development activities. These banks have been established over. What kind of development activities? Roads, buildings, railways, hospitals, hospitality services. So for the sake of government development activities, these banks, they are supposed to lend money. And finally, here I have given the Reserve Bank of India, but major heading was Central Bank. So for your sake, in order to understand, I have given as RBI. So Central Bank, for each and every country, definitely one central bank has to be happen. In India, we are calling as RBI, Reserve Bank of India. Why the central bank has to be happen? Because these there are two policies in country. Monetary policy. This monetary policy will be done by the banks. This monetary policy will be done by the banks. And governments, for the in order to support the governments, in order to maintain the rules and regulations, in order to have a framework for all the banks in the country, this central banks acts as key. For US, there is Federal Reserve. Like that, for each and every country, for Pakistan, they will be having Reserve Bank of Pakistan. Like that, every country will be having one central bank. Okay, ma? I have been left over with 2 minutes itself. Quickly, if you are having any doubts, please ask. Raise the hand, ma. I have unmuted, you can go. Ranjit, please go, ma.
Agriculture bank, sir.
Agricultural bank. So agricultural banks nowadays that we are supposed to call as regional rural banks itself, they are supposed to call as agricultural banks. Ma. These regional rural banks, they will be assisting by NABARD, National Bank for Agricultural and Rural Development. So agricultural banks will be funded by NABARD. Not only by the NABARD, but the agricultural banks, they will be also funded by central government, state government, at the same time, sponsorer banks. Sponsorer bank is nothing but syndicate bank. It is sponsoring Andhra Pragati Gramina Bank. So these three, central government, state government, and and syndicate bank, they will be investing amount in Andhra Pragati Gramina Bank. So why these regional rural banks have been formed means for the sake of development of rural areas. So in rural areas, what is the major thing? Farming. Farming is nothing but not only the agriculture. Even though the cattle, it is also supposed to come under farming. Fisheries, it is also supposed to come under farming. So in order for the sake of development of these farming sector, agricultural banks have been developed over. Still, ma? They are supposed to give short-term, medium-term and long-term loans for various activities of farming. Still?
Thank you, sir.
Okay, ma. Still any more doubts? My last minute it is there. It is less than 1 minute. Okay, thank you, Prasanna Siva. You have understood. Have you understood this topic, ma? Thank you, Mallikarjun.
Yes, sir.
Okay, okay, okay. What about Govardhan, Dheeraj, Prashant, Swaroop, Nikhil? Okay.
Sir, understood, sir.
Okay, thank you, Prashant. Thank you. But I haven't any response from Dheeraj and Govardhan. Not even a thumb symbol or voice. Okay, anyhow, if you are having any doubts, please post your doubts in the Google Classroom. There I will be giving answers, ma. Thank you, ma.